Good morning. Again, this is the next episode on life in academia. I'm Kshitij, a professor in University of Connecticut. So in these series, I'm telling you tips that probably are not going to be easily founded in other websites. Most of the time you'll get cookie cutter tips of how to prepare a life in academia as if it's a very ideal system or at least a very procedural system. But I'm bringing you practical advice as to how things work, because at the end of the day, academia, like any other place, is full of humans, and therefore, they are not angels here, right? We are all human beings here, and so humans will bring their own strengths as well as weaknesses to the workplace, and you need to navigate all of them, and therefore to expect that this place would be very, very high. I mean, it's going to be probably more idealistic as compared to outside world, but is it going to be so good that everybody would be working like angels and are only interested in science or arts or law or medicine, whichever area you are in, is to not be practical at all. So today we are going to talk about how to set up collaborations as a junior faculty, as a young faculty. And I've gone through this path over the years, have suffered, I have scars to show, the wounds that I had to suffer, as well as many successes. And I have seen many of my colleagues also going through these processes. So I'll give you one major tip today, which is what this small video is about. When you start, how you start a collaboration is, when you start when you start a lab, or you start as a new faculty, a new postdoc, or you get, are some fellow in which you have some independent time to work on your own project. Now, of course, I come from the area of science, so I'm talking about science, but this is very applicable to anything in law and literature. If you are, collaborating as a dramatist, as a novel writer, as a journalist, as a law resident, or pretty much any other area, you are going to come as a newbie who's just gotten their first job and are very excited, have new ideas. You have probably developed some ideas independently. That is why they ultimately hired you in a place where ideas are welcome. But now you are in a community, and in a community you will have senior people, junior people, all sorts of people, okay? And you would be suggested, well, collaboration is the way to succeed. True, but not true, okay? Be very careful with your time. I have seen umpteen number of young faculty and postdocs who have been ruined because of wrong collaborations, particularly with senior people. You see, you have to know what is the intention of the other person to work with you. And let's say you are coming with a particular idea, right? You are great in something. You may have a particular technique which is very unique. So people will look out for you. They will come to your seminars. When you talk about your work, they will come and try to assess as to what is the advantage that you bring to the table. And obviously, this is the only way to succeed for all of you, because sometimes in Hindi we say 1 plus 1 can be 2, but 1 plus 1 can become 11. And you want it to become 11. That is synergy, where two people bringing their expertise together actually create something which is bigger than individually they could have created. But at times, 1 and 1 can also become 0, okay? If there's a subtraction sign in between. You don't want that to happen. And you certainly do not want that to happen when you are vulnerable as a young faculty, as a young postdoc, as a young PhD student even, right? If you're collaborating within your own lab, in your own group. And as I say, this is really working. I'm talking of idea people. This is going to happen in movie industry, in software industry, any kind of team. You have to be very careful that you need to guard your ideas, but at the same time be available to collaborate with other people. So how to structure this kind of negotiation? So here is my big tip, okay? And this is something I've learned over the years. Of course, I'm not going to give names, but I have had issues where when I came and started my lab, we went and presented our work, and a lot of people were excited and they wanted to work with us. And we went and helped them develop whatever ideas that they were developing. They had a little gap that we could fill, right? But when the time came for success, we were nowhere there. We were not rewarded in whichever way you are rewarded, like for example being on papers, but also submitting grants together, applying for funding together, things like that. And we quickly learned that, well, this is not the way to go. But obviously, if you're going to rely entirely on yourself and you're going to be an island in a sea of intellectual people surrounding you, you are not benefiting from the advantage that other people bring. So the way to play this game, the way to carefully play this game, is to structure your approach in a way that when you give something, and you will have to give something earlier than other people will give to you, because you are the junior person and you are bringing some new techniques, and those people are already established, they have their things running, they really don't need you that much, right? So when you give a help to some person, you wait before the help comes back to you. Okay, so don't make yourself an employee of other people's ideas. Do not make yourself a finisher of other people's work. Do not be, the reason you are coming into academia is because you have a certain sense of independence that has been given to you, of course, as a faculty. But if you're not a faculty, let's say a junior faculty or a postdoc, yes, you have less independence, but with whatever space you have of independence, you be careful in collaborating. Okay, so develop that trust relationship, and the trust relationship is not going to come simply by being chummy with each other. That's one way, but that's a very superficial way. It will come when the transaction is well established. The pattern of transaction is well established. I help you, maybe I help you again, maybe I help you third time, but with a little gingerliness. But now I pretty much am expecting you to pay back. Okay? And if this is not coming, stop it. Nip it in the bud. Say you are not available. Okay? Learn to say no. And you will soon find that that person just goes away, realizing that it's not worth spending time on you. Even if you want to extract something out of somewhere, there is energy in it, right? So increase the threshold of that energy for the people you do not want to work with. Eventually, what will happen is you will come to find out people who have a working chemistry that you can develop with them. And you require that working chemistry because, as I mentioned again, you have to collaborate, but you have to collaborate strategically, effectively, which benefits you as well as benefits the other person, because they are not fools either, right? It cannot happen that people will come and just help you out without you helping them in return. They will want something for themselves. So if suppose you have a new equipment, a new technique, a new idea, a new writing style, a new subject expertise, that I can review this work for you, for example, in law, but you do it 2 or 3 times, but then create work for the other person and see how they respond. Okay, and if they respond in a way that they are as helpful as you were, or sufficiently helpful, then you understand that, okay, this is likely to work together. Develop that transaction. Make it to and fro. I see it very frequently, all that excitement and that energy of working for someone. You were a postdoc before you became a faculty. You were a PhD student before you became a postdoc. And so, people are used to please. Okay, that's not the job of you as a person in academia at all. Okay, your job is to guard your ideas, but expand the vision of your ideas, the footprint of your ideas. And that you can do simply by having a very careful transactional relationship. See, if you discuss everything beforehand, it's not going to work out. Okay, if you cook, too much cooking before, like, oh, who's going to be the author, who's going to be, how are we going to write a grant together, even before a work starts, I'm sorry, it's not going to work out. If somebody's giving you that advice, it's not practical. I, as a senior person, will not collaborate with someone who's going to discuss all these things. I mean, this will be a huge turn-off. that this person is not even interested in working together. They are so transactional even from the beginning. And I see that, by the way, amongst PhD students, amongst postdocs, working with each other. People who are develop good collaborations, they're very sensitive to this kind of unnecessary transactional nature that starts much too early. So don't be transactional from the beginning. Okay, I can work with you, but how are we going to work? Like, who's going to be the author, and who's going to be, uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, who's going to write a grant together or a fellowship application together, a patent together? If you're going to discuss this all before any work has been done, uh, you're not professionally recognized experts in a way that those transactions could be set up. You need to develop some energy together by doing some dating of its own kind. Okay, this dating is a collaborative dating where you work together enough to gain understanding of how this work will even proceed. Okay, is there anything worth in all this effort? So make small little tiny pilot projects and make sure that next time you are the beneficiary a little bit more if you were the giver in the first instance. Okay, maybe it doesn't happen the second time. Okay, let it be the third time, maybe the fourth time, and that should be the last one. And then by the time, your effort should also become shrink and shrink and shrink. Okay, so the first effort may be substantial, where you spend say 15 days to help someone and develop something, develop some data, write up something, review something. Next time you pick up a smaller task. You don't become available for such a long commitment to other people's work, and thereafter just a very tiny one. And by that time you already know this relationship is not going any forward. However, some relationships go very well together. That 15 days eventually can become help from the other side. Or maybe I'm writing a grant and you're a junior person, but I could put you in if you're okay with it. And he said, oh wow, this is a great opportunity for me. I don't have much experience writing grants. I don't have much experience writing big papers, for example. And some senior person is giving me that offer. So you understand that, okay, I have some benefit that immediately comes off my commitment to this relationship. And thereafter you do more substantive work with them. Don't become a lackey of other senior people. I see it very frequently. People try to go and attend lab meetings of other senior people and basically end up becoming like a senior or a junior faculty of those very senior people. You don't, you give away all your ideas, you give away all your thinking process, and you have to realize people who have achieved great success are very senior people in any field, are very good in identifying good ideas from bad ones. Okay, that's why they've reached those positions. And I certainly have become better than I was 10 years ago, right? They can immediately grab even if when you don't have enough thinking about it, you're just blurting it out, right? Thinking through, and talking about it, they will recognize one good idea out of 1,000 bad ones, which is practical, which is executable, which they can actually accomplish. And they can actually do it much faster than you can. So you have to be careful that you are available only so much so that you are not there to impress others too much, but to get your vision forward. Okay, so very, very important lesson here. This is not something that you will find in typical talks about academia, because this is the way things work, and you develop this collaboration. It's very, very important to publish and perish, and so you need to expand your collaborative footprint. No, be careful. You need to do it, but with an extremely strategic way of thinking. If you become too cold too soon, nobody will collaborate with you. If you become too easily available, well, promiscuity is never helpful, right? So become a person who is his own man or woman and guards their ideas, but also is ready to collaborate on clear terms, but is also ready to first try out a few instances and make sure that when you give a trial, you have a sense of how much real work I've done and how much work is expected of me for the next part of it. And then something should come back for you to be helped. And if that doesn't come, okay, if you help someone to generate some data for the grant application and you're not even considered to be put on the grant application as, say, an investigator, well, sorry, you have been used. Okay, learn to be not used again. And this will happen to everybody. multiple times. But I've seen people who keep doing it years after years after years after years. Okay, they never learn that they have ended up becoming a help for everybody else, and their expertise is just being used up by other people without really any compensation coming to them. Okay, so be very careful. People are not there to abuse you, but if you become the person who is easily abused, you will be abused. Okay, but at the same time, if you don't go and collaborate, so it's a fine game, and you need to make sure that the way the game is played is when, like tennis, you throw the ball from one court to the other, that process continues. Okay, the ball should not always be in your court, and all the work is expected from you again and again and again. And pick up small pieces, please. Don't pick up large things that take months of your time, and you have no idea why did I end up wasting 6 months working on this thing so that I can be part of their grant. And well, they were only considering a very tiny portion for you, while you had an anticipation that you were working so hard for them. Don't work for others. Okay, I mean, if you're a postdoc, of course you're going to work for your supervisor, but then don't work for other people in a way when you don't get the help in return, in your peer group. So I'm talking about in your own peer group. And once, of course, you become a faculty, then you need to think of independently, which means that you are peers with everybody else. So this advice is for, again, everybody. It is not just academia, but in law, medicine, in journalism for sure, any area where you are an ideas person and an execution person, you have to be very careful in starting collaborations and then building upon them. And be very, you should have a detectors on as to how am I doing. But it doesn't mean that you become cynical. When the chemistry starts developing, then you lower your guard. And thereafter, you will find that as you lower your guard, your relationship will actually become better. If you keep your guards up too long with even good relationships, your relationships will not be long term. And successful people develop decades long relationship, decades, 30, 40 years. They work together and they do amazing work. And this work could not have been done if they were individually situated. So collaborations are very, very important. Just you need to be very strategic about it. Okay, so wait for the next video and subscribe to this channel. I'm just starting it, so let's see if it grows and I'm able to reach out to more people in academia and and discuss with them how to build a life around it. Take care. Goodbye.